Hey everyone, this is Pete. Welcome back to Sunday Driving. Thought we'd have a bit of a change today. Been enjoying OutRun, but I fancied a bit of a change. So today we're going to be playing one of my favourite arcade races of all time. We're going to be starting over from the beginning. I've previously finished this before, but we're going to go from the start. And I'm actually going to let the intro play out for this one, just because a big part of this game is the whole sort of drama aspect of it. So we'll just let it run. And I'll see you when it's over. Yes, this is Split Second, or Split Second Velocity if you prefer, developed by BlackRock and published by Disney in 2010. This was, unfortunately, the last game that BlackRock put out, because they folded shortly afterwards. Both this and Blur, which we've previously explored on this series, were both really underperformed at the time for some reason. Whether that was through a combination of bad marketing or people just not being into arcade races at the time, I don't know, but both Blur and this were excellent games and big rivals at the time as well. So if you have a chance to pick them up, do so. So like I said, we're going right from the beginning here, so that means beginning with the tutorial.
In the premiere episode of the new season of Split Second. There's going to be billions watching the show around the world, so we need to make sure you can handle yourself behind the wheel. This ain't like any kind of race you've been in before. I know you can't wait to go out and start blowing stuff up, but we better go through the basics first. Let's put the test car through its paces. Drive me a lap around this course as quick as you can. Meet me back here at the start line. Okay, let's move it.
So the concept of Split Second, if you've not come across this before, is that you are participating in a reality TV show of sorts. And the reality TV show is based around racing. And all of the races take place on sort of abandoned parts of cities that have been specifically set up and prepared with explosives and traps and all sorts of things like that. And the idea is basically just to have absolutely spectacular movie-style races. And most of the events in the game are sort of fairly standard races, but there's a few sort of non-standard events that we'll see along the way as well.
Good job. Now you need to earn some power to set off the explosions. Drift around the track to fill up one blue segment of your meter.
So this is where one of the key mechanics starts to come in. So very similarly to Burnout by Criterion, you build up this bar by performing various tasks such as drifting.
Great. You have enough power to trigger a power play. Drive after the other test drivers, and when you see a target over them, hit the power button to set off the blast.
But instead of building up boost in this, you're building up a resource called power. And power is used for things like that.
Great. We need to get more power before we move on to the next stage. Enough to turn the meter red. Go for it!
So when you have at least one segment of your bar filled with power, that means you can set off what's called a power play, which is one of these explosives or traps set at a specific point around the track. When an opponent is passing by one of these power play locations, you can set it off by tapping the A button, and something blows up, and all being well, takes your opponent with them as well. Now, the reason the bar's got 3 segments and the top one is red is because the red bar allows you to do basically some sort of super power plays that are much more powerful, much more spectacular, and in a lot of cases they actually change the whole structure of the actual course you're racing on as well. So while it can be useful to just fire off power plays in quick succession, sometimes it's well worth saving up for the big one. So let's do that just now. Right, there we are.
Nice. Now you can press the level 2 power button to trigger bigger explosions when you see a red icon above the other driver. Try it out.
Alright, so again we've got to watch out for the icon. There's one. That causes a much larger explosion that can often take multiple out.
Before we wrap up, take down multiple drivers using power plays.
The interesting thing about power plays is it's not like firing a weapon at someone. You can often take people out with sort of the aftershock and the debris that comes down after you've used one as well. There we go.
We're done. You did great. Good news. You made the show. Leave us to finish building this set, and I'll see you back here for the first episode of the show. Good luck.
Alright, we're going to be on TV. Right, so let's begin our season. So this is the first episode, Rigged to Blow. And the way you progress through the episode is you complete certain events, you earn credits to unlock cars and subsequent events, and the final event in the episode is how you complete that episode, basically. The final event is always a race against the elite drivers. So, let's jump in.
This is Split Second. If you like insanely fast cars and explosive action, you've come to the right place. Over the next 12 exciting episodes, contestants from around the world will battle it out on the track with the aim of qualifying for the chance to race the Split Second Elite. This band of highly trained drivers are all that stand between the contestants going home and progression to the next round. As the contestants choose which events they want to enter, aiming to earn enough credits to qualify to the Elite Championship race, bridges will fall. Buildings reduced to clouds of dust, and no corner can be considered safe. Drivers, choose your events carefully, and remember to buckle up. It's about to get explosive out there.
I just really like the presentation of this because they've really gone all in on the whole TV show type thing. Just with those little cutscenes you get before the episodes start, and also just with more subtle stuff like the way the camera moves behind the car. It's as if it's actually being held by someone. Right, let's pick a car. So we're doing a race, so ideally we want something that's got a reasonable bit of speed to it. Probably that one. Let's take the Tornado. And let's have it in a nice red colour. Now, as we talked about with OutRun, certain games for me just feel better from the external view. And this is actually one of those games that I feel a lot more comfortable and confident with from the outside view. So that's what we'll be doing. And for me, that aspect of things sort of really adds to the presentation as well. So, let's go. Place 8th or better to earn more credits. 3 laps. And being a game from 2010, you'll notice that this is following what was a trend at that era for having interface elements as part of the game world. So there's very little in the way of static interface in this. Most of it is sort of floating in the world. If you look at your boost bar and stuff, it's attached to the back of your car. Like a sort of augmented reality overlay type thing. I just think like the way the colours are used in this as well gives it a very strong feeling of being sort of shot on film rather than trying to be realistic. It's very, very stylised. You've got the vignetting around the corner of the screen. So the shifts in colour when the explosions are happening. And of course the dramatic cutaways whenever you blow someone up. So this often gets compared to Burnout for obvious reasons, but it's quite a distinct experience. Just the fact that the power you're building up is not used for boost is probably the most significant difference, but it just has a different feel to it as well. It's got quite a sort of satisfyingly heavy and chunky feel to it, particularly when you're driving a big car like this truck here. And so it's got a nice kind of balance between your typical sort of Western racing game heavy handling and the drift heavy handling of Japanese arcade races. Alright, here we are. So this is a major power play that we've done. That tower falls over, changes the entire route of the level. One thing you might notice as well is that as you're playing, the soundtrack in the background is dynamic as well. It gradually increases in intensity according to how well you're doing in the race, how far through the race you are, and various other factors. And that sort of really adds to the cinematic drama aspect of the whole thing. Alright, final lap. Another route change has happened there. Oh no! And of course, in a situation like that, you've got to be careful not to take yourself out with your own power plays as well. It's easily done. Oh, he's a stubborn one. There seems to be some sort of system in this where you can kind of psych out the other races to a certain degree as well. I love it. I love it so much. Ridiculous. And power plays can be used to open up shortcuts as well, which is very helpful in some of the later races in particular, as long as you get through those shortcuts smoothly. So they're not a guaranteed route to success by any means. Particularly if you drive like a moron, like I am. I think we got this one in the bag though. Very nice. So our first win of the season. So, your credits that you earn, you don't directly spend them on anything. It's basically just a means of showing your progress. So you see in here, we will get the elite race for this episode in 100 more credits. If we wreck 16 more people in the episode, we unlock the bonus event. And if we get a few more credits, we can unlock a new car as well. Alright, let's move on. So next up, we got another race through the Downtown Central course. Let's take one of these smaller cars. Let's take the Brawler this time. So I remember the first time I saw this game, I believe it was at PAX East. I actually managed to make it to a PAX East one time to go and see some friends, and several of us all saw this game at the same time, and it just struck us so hard that it was just such a distinctive, stylish game. We all knew that we really wanted to play it, and when the full version came out, we were not disappointed at all. And it still holds up really well today. There's a couple of things that certain people would probably get a bit sniffy about, like the whole thing runs at 30 frames a second, even on the PC version. The PC version is garbage, by the way. Please do not buy the PC version, because it just handles gamepads really inelegantly, and it's just not a nice port at all. This is the Xbox 360 version we're playing here. It's also available on PlayStation 3. As far as I know, both versions are pretty comparable, so yeah, check out one of those. Not sure offhand if it's backwards compatible on Xbox One. Definitely worth looking into, though. Nice. But yeah, for me, actually, the 30 frames a second thing kind of... this was a common argument back at the time of... I believe it was The Last of Us that kind of really brought this argument to a lot of people's attention, but 30 frames a second for a lot of people feels a lot more cinematic, because it feels much more like you're watching film. Because although there are exceptions these days, a lot of film does run at just 24 frames a second or 30 frames a second, and so if you have a game running at that same level of performance, it means that it looks a bit more like one of those recordings. The 60 frames a second is certainly lovely and responsive and all those good things, but it can look almost a little unnatural at times. It can look a little too smooth. Sometimes that's desirable, so when you're playing something like a shoot 'em up or a beat 'em up or a fighting game or something like that can be very desirable. But when you're going for something that's very deliberately got a cinematic atmosphere and feel to it, that's a key part of its whole visual aesthetic, then yeah, it's not nearly as important. Right, we've got a bit of catching up to do. See, just stuff like the camera shake that you can probably see. That's not something that you really notice while you're playing. I mean, I say that. I anticipate that if you are prone to motion sickness, that may well trigger a bit of a bout of that. But certainly while I'm playing, I don't really notice, or I don't really actively notice the camera jiggling around, I should say. I do notice it because otherwise I wouldn't be talking about it, and it wouldn't be one of my favourite features of how this game is presented. But yeah, again, it really lends some weight to that whole "this is being broadcast on TV" thing that the game's got going on. Oh no! Disaster strikes. Oh, I'm in fourth. That's not good. How much race have we got left? Panicked power playing. Get him. Nice. Now, you can play this game online and in split screen, but in a lot of ways, I feel like it's designed for the single player experience first and foremost, and it was one of those situations where the multiplayer mode was added in just because it was sort of the thing to do at the time. So there were a lot of common trends in the business around that era. We've talked about the interface being projected into the world as one of them, and sort of having multiplayer in everything was another one as well. I would argue that this game doesn't really need multiplayer, just because the single player experience is so solid. But it's there if you do want it. I don't know if anyone's playing it anymore. I doubt it very much, but it is there if you want it, along with the split screen thing. But I feel like the mechanics in this are most designed for the single player experience. So you are the one directing the experience in many ways. You are the one setting off those power plays. And I feel like if stuff is just happening because another player is triggering it, I don't know. Like I say, I haven't really played its multiplayer much myself, so I've always focused entirely on the single player mode. So your mileage may vary, I guess. Alright, so our new car is quite drifty. It's got better acceleration and speed than our basic one, so let's give it a go. So our next race is an elimination race. So this is similar to a normal race, except what happens in this one is that there is a timer, if I remember correctly, and when the timer expires, whoever's in last place explodes. So don't be in last place, basically. Yeah, there we are. So you can use power plays in this as well. So it's mostly just like a pretty conventional race. You just need to make sure you're not in last place. So let's just make sure of that, shall we? This is another game where there's lots of nice visual cues where it's always very clear what's going on. So we've said the interface is very minimal, so you haven't got a speedometer, you haven't got a rev counter or anything. There's no manual gear shifting or anything, so you don't need those things really. But the power plays are made very obvious. And then there's also very clear visual cues as to when you're doing things like drafting behind other cars. So you might be able to see it just either side of the nose of my car. While we're drafting behind someone, you can see the air sort of swooshing past it. Again, heavily stylized, unrealistic thing, but it adds to the experience. It helps keep things nice and clear and helps you to understand past what's going on at all times. Alright, we're in first, so we just need to hold on. So, 6 people left. So you notice that initial timer is quite long. You've got about a minute to begin with. But then each subsequent timer is very, very short. So if you're not in first place by the time that first timer goes off, you're going to have to work really hard to get into that top position. But that, of course, puts you in danger because power plays can be fired at people in front of you. And if you're the one in front, you can't fire any of them, except for the big route-changing ones. Okay, 4 left. Noel Edmonds has been eliminated. The boys at Cheap Show would be very happy. Good. I want to use the big one on something. I'm not sure there are any big ones on this track. I guess we'll find out. I'm pretty sure that convention centre blows up. Alright, first of 2 now. So we just got to survive this last 15 seconds. And we are away. Hold tight. Victory. Happy with that. Another 50 credits. The Elite Race is now available. But we can unlock some more cars in the meantime. So, I'm going to work my way through all the events of this episode. Hopefully including the bonus one if we wreck enough people, which we probably should do by the time we get to it. Yeah, there's the Elite Race. And so we've got one more regular event and one more elimination. I beg your pardon, one more bonus event as well. So we need to wreck 4 people in this one to unlock the bonus event. So let's do that. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about the soundtrack to this game, because it's all original music, it's all composed specifically for the game, it's all got a very distinct, coherent style to it that really, again, emphasises the feeling of dramatic TV show, movie style car chases. And the whole dynamic remix thing is just incredible. I can also recommend from first-hand experience that if you are trying to get fit, then the soundtrack to this game is excellent motivational music. So I did the Couch to 5K plan a few years back, and the split-second soundtrack was a key part of my training program. So particularly if you can time it so that the most dramatic parts of the music come just as you're finishing a run or something like that. It really adds to the experience. It makes you feel like you're not the fat, unfit loser you might be. I say you might be, I'm talking about myself there. Kaboom! Oh no! That was terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Extremely poor timing as well. Right, let's try that again. Instant restarts as well. Can't praise that enough. And still something we don't always get in modern racing games. Alright, let's concentrate. Really got to get a feel for the drifting in this again, because the drifting is so important in this. And it's not quite the same as something like Ridge Racer, so you do slide out for a lot longer than you do in a sort of more Japanese style racing game. That's what I mean when I'm talking about the heavy handling. So it takes a little bit of adjusting to, but once you get the hang of it, it's very, very satisfying and almost graceful to slide around those corners. Okay, into first place. There we go. Aggressive driving, very much encouraged in this game, as you can see. And very effective. So while a lot of games sort of trying to block off your opponents with your own car's body isn't necessarily very effective, yeah, you can do a good job of keeping people out of your way in this one. You sort of slam them into a wall or try and block them off. Oh, you cheeky blighters. Avoiding my power plays. Right, back into first. Jolly good. 4 people left. So the one thing I did feel that was missing from this, that I kind of wish they expanded on a bit, or that they had the opportunity to expand on in a sequel that never happened, would be to have a bit more in-race dialogue. So the initial cutscene, as you saw, kind of sets up the split-second elite as this group of actual characters. And it would be really good to get a feel for their personalities and who they are. But you never really get that in this game, unfortunately. There is actually a storyline of sorts. And in fact, the whole thing ends with a cliffhanger, of all things. Which is what makes it all the more galling But it was such a commercial flop because we're never going to see the resolution to that now, which is a real shame. Okay, we've qualified for the bonus event. And a new car. Alright, let's check out the bonus event. So, this is the Hanzo GT Challenge. So we have to use a specific car for this event. Let's give it a go. I think this might be a sort of time trial type event, if I remember correctly. Yeah, here we are. Detonator. Drive a lap against the clock. Power plays trigger ahead of you automatically. Dodge obstacles and power plays to beat the target time. So, straight race. You don't have to worry about power in this one. You just have to beat the clock and avoid all the exploding things that are being thrown at you. So, we need to beat a time of 1 minute 25 seconds. Can we do it? Let's find out. Next on Split Second. So this is where sort of learning the courses and when you can trigger power plays is quite helpful, because it might help you to predict when some of the explosions are going to happen to you. Like you would have seen in one of the early races we did, we blew up that petrol station, so you know it's probably not a good idea to drive through there because it'll probably blow up. There's the plane that crashes as well. No shortcut for us this time, though, because we don't have the ability to trigger it manually, so we have to get around this horrible chicane. More falling debris. There's the end. Are we going to make it? Are we going to make it? Come on. Yes. Nicely done. Alright, so just the elite race left to go. Now recall these being quite difficult. So I'm making no promises that I will perform well in this, but we'll see how we do. It's the final challenge. Let's take that one. Or that one. Let's take this one. That seemed to handle quite nicely. I didn't slide around quite as much as some of the others. Okay. The one thing I really like about the elite race things is sort of a favourite thing done on a lot of game soundtracks that I talked about on one of the very earliest episodes of the Mario Gamer podcast, in fact, which is bringing back the main theme of the game during significant moments. It just, it sends shivers down the spine. It really does. Okay. Ready to go. And we're off. Yeah, this is what I mean when I say this game has a wonderful sense of drama about it. Just, you'll really hear the... I should stop talking really, shouldn't I? Yeah, you'll really hear the dynamic soundtrack coming into its own on this, on the elite races in particular. So it starts off with a very simple, minimalist mix like we've got here, with just the bass line, the drums, and a little bit of synth. And as we progress, you'll hear it getting more and more complicated. assuming I can stop crashing and make some actual progress. Okay, let's try and get past Brawn here. There we go. Get them while they're ahead. Just a bit of a chance to catch up slightly. Alright, so we need third at a bare minimum to qualify for the next episode. As I say, the elite races, they are significantly tougher than the other events. These guys do not mess around. They really do put up a fight. Alright, on to the second lap. We need to get into those podium positions to build up some power. And wreck the people in front of me rather than the people behind me. That would be a good start, wouldn't it? Okay, come on, Livewire, I'm coming for you. Have some. Missed. Disappointing. We are in third, at least. So that's approaching where we want to be. Just need to go just that little bit faster. Take him out. Oh, I took myself out. Still in third, though. Music's starting to build. Yes. Oh no! Don't you overtake me. Have some digger. Alright, come on. Gotta get past him. Oh no! Oh. I feel like that may have caused real problems. We're still in third, somehow. First place. It's just the music builds to its peak. Oh god, I'm actually tense. There we go. It's a win. Whew. Blimey. It's been a long time since I played this game and I had forgotten how much I love it. Well, that is the first episode of Split Second then. Rigged to blow. New car. Ryback Mohawk. Okay, so there is an ongoing championship involving the elite races as well. And ultimately, by the end of the 12 episodes, you need to have won the championship as well. Okay, so we now actually have a choice of 2 different episodes. We'll just go through in order though. With Splashdown, and we should get a little preview of that now.
Next time on Split Second, get ready to look to the skies.
All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. Be sure to check out moegamer.net for new articles on Japanese and Japanese-inspired video games, new and old, every weekday. Every month, Moe Gamer features an in-depth exploration of an individual game or series as its cover game, so be sure to check the archives to see if your favourite has had a deep dive yet. If you'd like to support the site directly, please consider becoming a patron or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.